Hello, welcome to Renew Our Minds. In this video, we will go through how to memorize Lamentations 3 verses 21 through 26 step by step in the English Standard Version. These slides are geared for beginners in memorizing the Bible. These short 6 verses are a great place to start. We learn about who God is, that He is faithful, merciful, and loving. Because of who He is, we can fully trust and hope in Him. First, we will go through how to create a habit of memorization. Then, we will go through a few memorization techniques or methods to learn verse by verse. There are many more techniques, but these are a few ideas to get you started. You can pick and choose which ones you want to try out. Third, we will go through some ideas for meditating, studying, and applying these verses. Lastly, we will go through a review plan. After you memorize the verses initially, this plan will help you refresh them on a regular basis. Feel free to pause or rewatch the video as needed while you learn these verses at your own pace. Let's jump right in. So starting off with part 1, which is to create a habit of memorization. When I first tried to memorize a passage in 2016, I didn't have a good habit. So these are things I learned along the way through lots of trial and error. I learned that this habit is similar to a foundation of a house, and then I build the memorization techniques and methods upon it, similar to the walls and other features of the house, built upon the foundation. I hope these tips will help you set up a good foundation for memorizing the Bible as part of your walk with Christ. First, pick a daily time and place you commit to memorizing the Bible. For example, my mind is sharpest in the morning, and I combine it with walking on the treadmill or around the neighborhood. Second, write down these verses and put them in a place you can see them daily. For example, write them on a note card and post it on your bathroom mirror, or if you prefer digitally, have it as a note on your phone. Third, involve others. Tell someone that you plan to memorize these 6 verses from Lamentations 3. And after you are done, recite it from memory with them. Even better if your family member or friend memorizes these 6 verses with you. If you would like to find out more, I covered this in more detail in a separate video. Let's move on to part 2, or a few memorization techniques to learn verse by verse. Let's go through an example of a memorization plan. Let's say today is the first of the month. Repeat verse 21 until you can say it out loud from memory without looking at the words. Then tomorrow, do the same thing with verse 22. Then combine the prior verse and say them from memory together. In this way, you are building upon the passage day by day until you finish the passage on day 6. You can adjust this plan according to the amount of time you can commit. Also remember, memory is like a muscle. It will get stronger, but in the beginning it may take a little longer than expected. Another memorization technique is to write out the verses. You can write them out longhand, which is each word and punctuation, and repeat it until you can write it out from memory without mistakes. You can also write the first letter only. I show an example with one of the verses. I also found it helpful to create passwords using first letters from the verses, which is another way to incorporate memorizing the Bible into your daily life. Another technique is the rhythm method. This is one of my most used memorization techniques. To summarize the rhythm method, you say the underlying syllables to a steady beat. For example, for the first verse, I will start off by counting off the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. You can say it to a faster or slower beat. You can also tap your foot or hand. Say this verse out loud to the rhythm over and over until you can say it from memory. So let us go through all 6 verses to the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in Him. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. You may notice I added a beat in between verses 24 and 25. You can do that at any point when you want to catch your breath or add a pause in between phrases. If you would like to learn more passages using rhythm, check out my videos on Psalm 1 and other verses. Moving on to part 3. What are some ways that we can meditate on, study, and apply these verses? We can study the context of this passage, which is the prophet Jeremiah writing this during the destruction of Jerusalem due to Judah's prolonged disobedience to the Lord. However, even in the midst of judgment, the Lord shows mercy, and eventually Jerusalem would be restored. We can also think about other examples the Lord showed mercy and faithfulness to the nation of Israel. What about in your life? How has the Lord shown mercy and steadfast love to you? As you meditate and pray through these verses, how is the Holy Spirit leading you to apply this passage in your life? For example, in a separate video, I share how these verses affected me in a season of waiting on the Lord. Another idea is to sing the hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness, which includes phrases from this passage. Last but not least, part 4 is the review plan. Here's an example. Let's say you finish memorizing these 6 verses on the 6th of the month. Then, for the next 30 days, review these 6 verses every day. This will help cement these verses in your mind. After this month, add it to your weekly review. For example, review these 6 verses each Monday. Then for the next passage, add it to Tuesday's review. Doing this will help you remember these verses a year or 5 years from now. The review plan is also something that you will adjust as you learn more and more passages. So we covered a lot in this video. First, we covered how to create a daily habit of memorizing the Bible. And then second, we covered different memorization techniques to learn verse by verse. And next, there are some ways that we can meditate, study, and apply these verses in our walk with Christ and relationship with others. And then, what are some ways that we can review the verses regularly? If you have any questions or things you would like to see in future videos, feel free to post a comment or email me. Thank you for watching.